Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for my next installment of these Facebook Live sessions in which I am covering the very, very important and profound topic of loving kindness. So I thought we'd start today with just a little bit of an opening meditation practice. We'll just do this for about 5 minutes or so. And I'll ring the bell. I'll just give us a little bit of guidance. And then we'll move into the topic of today's session. So enjoy this very brief guided meditation. So taking a few moments here just to arrive and settle into the present moment experience. And while we're here, arriving and resting, settling, perhaps noticing the breath and noticing how the breath moves through the body with the in-breath and the out-breath. Perhaps noticing the rising and falling of the abdomen, the expanding and contracting of the rib cage with each breath. We might notice how the shoulders rise on the in-breath and fall on the out-breath. The back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. Perhaps noticing the temperature changing from cooler to warmer at the nose and the back of the throat with each breath. Resting, resting. So while we're here resting with this present moment experience of the breath, noticing any sensations which might be arising from the feet, perhaps noticing the contact of the feet against the ground or the floor or the carpet. Inviting the muscles in the feet to grow soft, relax, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations of clothing against the legs. Inviting the muscles in the legs to unwind, grow soft. We might also notice the weight of the body against the cushion or a chair or mat or floor. Inviting the muscles underneath those sensations to rest. We might notice the hands resting against the body or touching each other. The arms resting against the body. Inviting the hands and arms to grow soft, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations of clothing against the back. Inviting the muscles in the back to unwind, grow soft. There may be sensations arising throughout the shoulders, perhaps sensations of clothing against the shoulders. Inviting the muscles in the shoulders to unwind and grow soft, rest. There may be sensations arising throughout the back of the neck and the sides of the neck. Inviting the muscles in the neck to relax and unwind. There may be sensations arising throughout the cheeks of the face, letting any tension or stress that's held in the face go. And perhaps noticing sensations arising from the top of the head, the very crown of the head. Resting, breathing. So while we're here resting with this present moment experience, we'll begin to offer ourselves these very precious phrases of loving kindness, as if we were bringing ourselves the most precious, rare gift. With each phrase, briefly visualizing or imagining what our life would look and feel like if each phrase was completely reflective of our own life circumstance. May I feel safe. May I be happy. May I live a life of peace without struggle. May I open to things just as they are. May I experience the world opening to me just as I am. May I welcome whatever arises. Resting, resting. And so in a few moments' time, we'll begin to shift away from this guided meditation and back into a conversational space. And I'll cue that by ringing the bell 3 times. Okay, so thank you all for joining me in that very brief opening meditation practice there. It's just a way of setting the stage. And so I'd just like to speak a little bit about the program that I'm going to be offering. And the reason why I'm doing a month of weekly loving kindness sessions on Facebook Live as a way of kind of ramping up to an 8-week online meditation program that I'm offering on loving kindness. It's entitled Lovingkindness, Widening Our Circle of Care. And this is again an 8-week online meditation program. It opens on October 5th and runs to November 26th. And we meet on Wednesdays and Sundays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. East Coast time. That's the first section. So if your time zone fits the Americas, or perhaps in the morning here in Asia, or later morning or afternoon in Australia or New Zealand, section 1 is usually the time zone. So it meets twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. There is a section 2 that caters mostly to Europe and people who like a later start to their day in Asia. So that's on Mondays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, European time in France, Western Europe time, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Now, most places in the world do adjust their clocks as we move into autumn, so keep that in mind. Here in Thailand, where I'm located, the clocks stay the same, so the participants will have to adjust their clocks accordingly when daylight savings comes to an end or starts. I don't know. All of the sessions are recorded and made available to the retreat participants at just a few hours after the session usually. And this is made available so that participants can miss a few sessions, many sessions, or even all of the sessions. I have many participants who sign up for these programs who do the whole thing in their own pace, at their own time. You're welcome to do that. So they are recorded. If you have to miss a few, I know, being anywhere at the same time twice a week for 8 weeks, that's pretty challenging. So feel free and feel at ease that you can miss some of the sessions or all of the sessions. No problem. The whole program includes the 8-week course, of course. It includes plenty of Q&A, discussion time with myself and the other retreat participants. I also make myself available for one-to-one sessions throughout the 8-week course at no extra charge. Everything that I offer, whether it's the Love and Kindness course that I'm speaking to, or really anything that I offer, is offered in a trauma-sensitive framework. I've studied quite deeply trauma and trauma healing and trauma-sensitive mindfulness. And so if you do feel that you have some of that in your background, some trauma in your background, rest assured that this retreat, the 8-week program, is safe for that and fine, and I take all of that into account when I facilitate. Also, everything that I offer is offered within a secular voice. So although my training is mostly in the Buddhist traditions, trained very deeply in both Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, but when I teach, I distill those teachings down into a voice that can be heard by people from all walks of life, any religion, any faith, any practice. No religion, no faith, all good. It's all good. Okay. So all of that being said, if you want to find out more about the retreat or anything that I offer, please do go visit my website, suchsweetthunder.org, suchsweetthunder.org. So I'd like to talk a bit about loving kindness here. Metta, as it's known in Sanskrit and Pali. And loving kindness makes up 25% of a much larger practice called the practice of the Brahma Viharas. Brahma Vihara is a Sanskrit term that means the home of the gods or the dwelling of the gods. And then that includes metta, karuna. Karuna is compassion, mudita, which means joy, and upekkha, which means equanimity. So we have loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So today, just talking about metta, loving kindness, and really this is referring to kind of a state of unconditional care. Unconditional care. Or unconditional concern, or wishing for others and ourselves our own well-being in an unconditional way. And so in the course that I'll be offering, we'll spend 4 weeks cultivating loving kindness for ourselves. And then we spend 1 week offering loving kindness to people we like, we're fond of. The 6th week we spend offering loving kindness to people we don't know, people we have no clear feelings of like or dislike towards. And this week 7, we broaden that scope to include people we dislike, and then to the entire world. So gradually, slowly, as the practice unfolds, we are widening our circle of care and compassion to include more and more people. So essentially, the idea is to bring in strangers and neutral people, people we feel neutral towards, bringing these people into our team, or perhaps reframing our relationship with those people as people who are a part of our tribe or our family. So in a sense, creating a global tribe, if you will. And we can ask the question here, what would it be like if everyone in the world was a part of our tribe or our family? How might that change how we feel about certain events happening across the world? How might that perhaps influence our relationship with people that we don't know? Because it is this divided worldview of us versus them, or have versus have not, people who vote left, people who vote right. And we can go on and on and on with these imaginary lines which divide our species. And it is this divided worldview that creates so much violence in the world, so much disharmony. The great sage Krishnamurti once said that claiming yourself to be any particular religion is an act of violence. And this was the idea that Krishnamurti was speaking to. That as soon as we say, I am this, that by implication says that I am not this, that, or the other. And that because I pledge allegiance to this religion, to this belief, to this value, to this idea, that other values or ideas are perhaps not as appealing for whatever reason. So loving kindness in the Buddhist tradition, loving kindness is spoken of as an antidote to fear. In fact, the very first teaching of loving kindness that was given by the Buddha, it was given to a large group. It was said 500 monastics, monks and nuns, and also lay people, men and women. And these monks, nuns, and lay people were getting ready to go out on a 3 or 4 month long meditation retreat in the forest during the rainy season in northern India. Now, I won't go into the details around the story, but apparently this forest that these practitioners were headed to was haunted by tree spirits. And the tree spirits initially welcomed these new meditators into their forest, but before long they grew very weary and impatient with their presence and began haunting the entire forest as a way of encouraging this group of meditators to leave them alone. So these retreat participants got so disturbed that they said, well, we can't practice here, and they ended up leaving the forest. They went back to the Buddha. And rather than, as they hoped, the Buddha sending them off to a different forest, the Buddha then sent the group of retreat participants back into the same forest with the practice of loving kindness as their protector. And so it was this practice that allowed them to find their ground in the forest and meditate without fear. Now, it's also said in the tradition, in the parable there, that the energy that this group of practitioners was generating by this practice of loving kindness pacified the tree spirits and really gave the tree spirits a way to connect to the group of practitioners. So loving kindness is often offered in this antidote to fear. So that might be particularly helpful at various times in your life, but particularly when we're working around this idea of fixed views, right? And you might recall in our last voyage together, I read what's known as the Metta Sutta, the Sutta of Loving Kindness, the teaching that the Buddha gave. And I'm not going to read the whole thing again here today. But at the end of the Metta Sutta, the Buddha kind of gives us a hint on how we can cultivate this type of boundless loving kindness. And he says, by not holding on to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, is freed from all sense desire and therefore freed from repetitive existence. And so here we have the Buddha giving us a very clear hint on how we might be able to offer loving kindness to people we don't know and perhaps to people we don't like very much. Because it's generally our fixed views of how we think the world ought to be, quote unquote, or how the world should be, or how this ought to be happening, or how that should be happening. It's when we hold on to those views that our avenue towards being kind and compassionate towards others, that avenue often gets closed down. So, because of that constrictedness, that closedness around those views, a lot of fear can come up, right? And so here we see, how this antidote of loving kindness can be so helpful. And so maybe we know we're going to be having a conversation, a tricky conversation around some delicate material. Maybe this person that we're going to converse with sees the world in a much different way than we do. So if we go into that conversation, defining that person as opposing us, defining that person's view as being opposite to our view, and perhaps saying other things about their view, like how perhaps misguided it is, or whatever opinions we might have about that person's view. Then when we enter into that conversation, it's going to be really tricky for us to meet that person as they're showing up in the present moment. Right? We're gonna experience that person viewed through the lens of our opinions about their views. And so here we can see how loving kindness and compassion gets severed when we're holding and clinging to those views in that way. So loving kindness towards people we don't know. In a sense, sometimes this can be easier than offering loving kindness to people we love and care about and like. Because we might know their views, and we might be attached to our views as opposing theirs. We still love them. There might be family members or very close friends. But that attachment to the view gets in the way. When we're working with neutral people, with strangers, we have the luxury of not knowing how they believe or what their view is around anything, perhaps. This could be just a face in the crowd. Now, when we are offering these phrases of loving kindness to people we don't know, or to neutral people, the very typical resistance that arises there is indifference. Why should I be doing all of this work for these people? I don't know these people. They don't, influence my life in one way or another. Can't I just offer loving kindness to myself, or to people I know or like or love, or even to challenging people? There's some meat there. There's something to work with. Indifference has this kind of bland dullness to it that makes it challenging to engage with. So that's really the initial challenge of offering loving kindness to neutral people. For many people, not for everyone, of course, but for most people, that's generally the resistance that comes up. It's just so neutral that there's nothing pulling us into the practice one way or another. But when we can really open our heart to people we don't know, to really, look at a strange face in the crowd and to say, yes, this person deserves happiness just like I do. That this person deserves to be easeful in their life simply because they were born as a human being. And this becomes pretty radical. So the idea will be then to hold that feeling of neutrality in awareness, and then just allowing it to be there, and then continuing to offer those phrases of loving kindness to the stranger, to the neutral person. Now there will be perhaps boredom that arises, or the feelings of indifference that arise. And again, like all of the resistances that arise in this meditation or any meditation, we're not trying to get rid of them or eradicate our experience from those resistances, but we're really trying to get to know those resistances and to hold them with kindness, with compassion. We can just allow them to be there and continue to offer loving kindness to people we don't know. Eventually, we start to see through those resistances. They start to lose their hold. And even if it's just, it might feel like 90% or 99% resistance, like a wall covering the heart, and just 1% of an opening, but that 1% is enough. Because that we'll start to feel the goodness of that 1%. And that might, bring up a little curiosity. Something feels good there. We look a little bit closer. Oh, we can open a little bit more. Open up maybe 5%. Okay, feeling a little bit better. Right? Then maybe 15, 20%, and so forth. And so the resistance does start to break down, because loving kindness feels better than indifference. It feels better than really any of the resistances that might be shielding our heart. The warmth of loving kindness simply feels better. And so when we start to feel that, eventually our heart, our body, our mind naturally starts to lean into that feeling of loving kindness. And so that's when the practice really starts to elicit a shift and bring some momentum into our practice and into our life. So the main challenge here then is this feeling of indifference. And then holding the indifference lightly with compassion, with kindness for ourselves, we continue and we move forward offering loving kindness to people we don't know. So I want to tell a little bit of a story here as a way of kind of bringing this home. So back in 2020, it was July or August 2020, I don't remember what month, I was invited to facilitate a 7-day residential retreat at the New Life Foundation here in northern Thailand, in Chiang Rai, Thailand. And it was quite a nice group. We had a nice group there. We were taking a really deep dive, meditating around 8 to 10 hours a day, primarily on loving kindness meditation. It was mostly silent, and so we were really, really engaging in a very, very deep way. And so, a few days go by, 3, 4, 5 days go by, and the energy's really getting quite strong and palpable. And so we went on our lunch break. I believe we had an hour and a half or a 2-hour lunch break in the schedule there. I finished my lunch, and then I went across the street to pick up a coffee before heading back to the meditation hall. And now I had lived at the New Life Foundation for quite some time and spent a lot of time there. So there was a cafe right across the street from the site, from the community group, from the New Life Foundation. And I had gone to that cafe many, many times while living there before this retreat. And I knew that there was a person in there who I didn't really have any feelings of attraction or aversion towards. This person was quite neutral. And so I had been meditating with this person, offering this person, this neutral person, loving kindness for, I guess, about a day and a half, maybe 2 days. And I hadn't really been feeling much during the practice. I'd just been kind of, doing the meditation, feeling okay, but not really feeling this abundance of loving kindness or anything like that. But just, doing the practice. And so I walk in the door of the cafe to get my coffee to go, and there's my neutral person sitting at the register waiting to take my order. And as I looked at this person, my heart just opened, like, wow. As soon as I recognized, there's a neutral person in front of me. And it wasn't even like a verbal recognition. It was just, I recognized their face and my heart just popped open. And it was literally this flood of boundless care for this person. I could feel in a very deep way that this person's well-being was of concern for me. And it dawned on me that, how many people there are in this world that are strangers or are neutral. Billions, right? Billions of people in this world that I either don't know or have no clear feelings of like or dislike towards. Right? The majority of people, I think, would fall under that category. And so each one of those billions of people now represents an opportunity to connect through kindness, to hold this person's well-being as a concern, rather than just an object that I pass in my day. All right, so in a sense, by practicing loving kindness for people we don't know, or for strangers or for neutral people, in a sense, we're restoring those people's humanity in the story of our own life. We really disconnect the tendency to objectify those people simply because we don't know them. And we disconnect that tendency, and we now have much more capacity to meet these people just the way they are, just how they're showing up in that moment. We have the possibility to perhaps view them in a clear way, without preference, without prejudice. We have the opportunity to meet that person through the eyes of kindness and compassion. We might even have the opportunity, or we might have the potential to celebrate this person's potential and joy, and appreciate the human being that they are, simply because they're human. So that's the practice of loving kindness for people we don't know, for neutral people. I hope that adds some salience to that type of practice. And, I just want to kind of highlight the idea here, or highlight this offering that I'm about to offer here. These practices aren't meant to be mastered within, a half an hour Facebook Live session, or they're not meant to be mastered in an 8-week course. But, the practices of loving kindness, all of the Brahma Viharas, equanimity, joy, compassion, these are meant to be done over a lifetime. Over a lifetime. So, to have the long view around these practices, that we start where we are. We don't try to create an image in our mind's eye of what a more kind and loving person might look like, and try to live into that image. That's not healthy at all. That generally leads to a type of repression. But what we're really trying to do is really, with kindness and compassion, meet ourselves where we are, and start there. And then engage in these practices wholeheartedly as we can. And then allow the fruits to reveal themselves. Allow the fruits to reveal themselves. So again, if you are interested in the course of loving kindness, we do open on October 4th or 5th, depending on where you are in the world. And all of the information around that program, and the other program that I'm offering on, that's entitled Self-Compassion, Forgiveness, and the Inner Critic. Both of these programs open the first or second week in October. It's offered for the autumn. They both run 8 weeks. And all of the information for those programs can be found at suchsweetthunder.org. So thank you once again for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I will be back next Monday giving another talk on loving kindness. That one will be focused more around offering loving kindness to people who challenge us, people who we don't like very much. So there can be a lot of juice around that material. And on Thursday at the same time, I will be offering a talk on the topic of the other program that I'm offering, which I just mentioned. And in that talk, I think I'll be talking mostly about the inner critic on that talk on Thursday. So I hope to see you there. And if I don't, have a great week, and hope to see you all on the retreat, or one of the retreats. So I'll ring the bell to close us out and make it official. Thank you.